The day I stumbled upon the Book of Shadows was a rainy, dismal one. As a historian specializing in rare manuscripts, I had ventured into an old, forgotten library on the edge of town. The place was a labyrinth of dusty shelves and forgotten relics, a realm where time seemed to stand still. The air was thick with the musty scent of neglect, and cobwebs draped like ghostly veils over the book spines. My eyes fell upon a solitary book, half buried in a neglected corner. Its dark leather cover was embossed with strange, twisting symbols that seemed to writhe in the dim light. The book's aura was palpable, an almost electric charge that sent shivers down my spine. I hesitated, then carefully lifted it, feeling a strange, foreboding connection. Little did I know, that seemingly innocuous discovery would soon plunge me into a nightmare beyond imagination. At home, I set the book on my study desk, its presence looming like a dark sentinel. The symbols were unlike anything I had ever encountered, ancient and alien, their meanings elusive. As I began translating the text, an uneasy feeling settled over me. The book spoke of rituals, dark magic, and entities that existed in the spaces between worlds. The more I translated, the more unsettling my surroundings became. Shadows on the walls seemed to move independently, shifting shapes and sizes. Unexplained noises, scratches, whispers echoed through the room. One night, as I deciphered a particularly disturbing passage, the room's temperature dropped drastically. My breath fogged in the cold, and I felt a chilling presence behind me. When I turned, there was nothing, only the oppressive darkness of my study. The book seemed to be alive, feeding on my fear and amplifying the strange occurrences. The first clear sign that something was gravely wrong happened when I returned to my study one evening to find the book open on a page detailing a ritual of summoning. The symbols glowed faintly, casting an eerie light across the room. As I approached, the air thickened, and a deep, resonant hum filled the space. That night, I was jolted awake by a cold, spectral hand gripping my ankle. My heart raced as I struggled to break free from the unseen grip. When I looked down, the hand was gone, but the lingering cold was unmistakable. Over the following nights, I was plagued by horrifying dreams of shadowy figures and endless voids. Each morning, I found my study in disarray, books strewn about, candles extinguished, and an unshakable sense that I was being watched. The book's malevolent influence was growing stronger, and my reality was becoming increasingly warped. Driven to uncover the origins of the book, I delved into old records and consulted experts in occult history. What I discovered was chilling. The Book of Shadows was believed to be a conduit for a dark entity, a force that sought to break free into our world. The ancient rituals it described were intended to summon and control this entity, but at a steep price. The entity's power was fed by the fear and suffering of those who attempted to harness it. The more I read, the more I realized that the book was not just a collection of dark spells, it was a vessel for a malevolent force that was growing stronger with each page I translated. The shadows in my study seemed to thicken, and I could feel the entity's presence growing more insistent, like a predator closing in on its prey. Desperate to end the torment, I reached out to Dr. Elias Hart, a reclusive scholar known for his expertise in ancient rituals. He agreed to help, and together we prepared for a dangerous ritual to neutralize the book's power. We gathered various ritual components, candles, herbs, and protective symbols. The ritual was complex, involving chants in an ancient language and a precise arrangement of symbols. As we began, the room grew eerily silent, the air thick with oppressive energy. Shadows twisted and writhed, and the temperature plummeted. The book trembled on the table, its dark power fighting against our efforts. The whispers grew louder, a cacophony of anguished voices that seemed to emanate from the book itself. The entity's presence was overwhelming, its rage palpable as it sought to resist our intervention. The entity's fury reached its peak during the ritual. The shadows transformed into grotesque, nightmarish figures, their eyes glowing with a malevolent light. The room was suffused with a sense of dread so intense it felt like a physical force pressing down on us. As the ritual progressed, the whispers turned into a deafening roar, a cacophony of anguished screams and threatening growls that seemed to come from every corner of the room. The temperature dropped further, and I could see my breath misting in front of me. I felt a cold hand grasp my shoulder, its grip like ice, and I could hear the entity's voice, a distorted and guttural sound promising torment and destruction. The walls appeared to close in, pulsating with a dark, sinister energy. The fear was so overwhelming that it felt like it was consuming me from the inside out. The very fabric of reality seemed to unravel, making it almost impossible to focus on the ritual. Dr. Hart's face was a mask of concentration and terror, but even he looked overwhelmed by the entity's power. The struggle to maintain control was excruciating, and it seemed as though the darkness would swallow us whole. The book began to emit a blinding, otherworldly light, and the entire room was engulfed in chaos. The shadows writhed and twisted, becoming monstrous entities with claw-like appendages. The air crackled with dark energy, and the floor seemed to tremble beneath us. Dr. Hart and I fought to maintain our focus, our voices strained as we chanted the incantations. The entity's anger was a palpable force, and its presence felt like an icy weight pressing down on my chest, but the oppressive darkness threatened to overwhelm us, and I could feel a cold, unseen force clawing at my mind. The light from the book was searing, its intensity almost unbearable. Just as it seemed we were on the brink of being consumed by the darkness, Dr. Hart made a final, decisive gesture. With a powerful incantation and a burst of searing light, the book was engulfed in flames. The entity's presence let out a final, shrieking wail as it was driven back, and the oppressive energy began to dissipate. The fire burned fiercely, consuming the book and its dark power. The shadows retreated, and the room slowly returned to normal. The destruction of the book marked the end of the immediate threat, but the experience had left both Dr. Hart and me deeply shaken. The room was a mess, with remnants of ritual components scattered about and a lingering sense of dread that refused to dissipate. Dr. Hart left to recover in seclusion, his work with dark magic leaving him visibly exhausted. I was left to confront the aftermath alone. The haunting memories of the entity's presence and the traumatic events of the ritual lingered, casting a shadow over my daily life. I decided to seal off the library, where I had found the book, ensuring that its dark secrets remained buried. The library was boarded up and declared off limits, a silent warning to others who might be tempted by forbidden knowledge. In the months following the ordeal, I sought to rebuild my life and regain a sense of normalcy. I moved to a new apartment, away from the echoes of my traumatic experience, and took a break from my academic work. My focus shifted to helping others who had experienced trauma, using my knowledge and experience to guide them through their struggles. The nightmares eventually faded, but the memories of the book's dark power remained etched in my mind. The Book of Shadows had left a lasting impact on my life, but I emerged from the experience with a newfound understanding of the balance between curiosity and respect for the unknown. I found solace in helping others and used my experience to make a positive impact on those around me. Years later, as I reflected on my encounter with the Book of Shadows, I realized that its legacy was one of caution and respect. The experience had profoundly shaped my approach to research and teaching. I shared my story with others not to instill fear but to impart a lesson in humility and the dangers of disturbing forces beyond our comprehension. The Book of Shadows had been destroyed, but its lessons endured. It served as a constant reminder of the fine line between curiosity and recklessness. The knowledge I gained from my ordeal became a guiding principle in my life, shaping how I approached both academic pursuits and personal relationships. Despite the book's destruction, the fear never truly left me. It manifested in unexpected ways. Every creak of the floorboards, every flicker of a shadow, seemed to remind me of the malevolent force I had once battled. The nights were the hardest I would lie awake, ears straining for any sign of the entity's return. Sometimes the fear would grip me so tightly that I could hardly breathe, as if the darkness itself was reaching out to reclaim me. The echoes of the entity's whispers haunted my dreams, and I would wake in a cold sweat, convinced that it was only a matter of time before the darkness would come for me again. The psychological scars of my experience were deep, and though I worked hard to move past them, the fear remained a constant, nagging presence, a reminder of the darkness that once threatened to consume my world. As time passed, I found a way to reconcile with my past. The book had been a source of terror and darkness, but it had also taught me invaluable lessons about the nature of fear and the importance of facing it. I embraced new projects and relationships with a renewed sense of purpose, understanding that while fear might never fully disappear, it could be managed and understood. The Book of Shadows had left an indelible mark on my life, but it also provided me with a unique perspective on the balance between knowledge and respect for the unknown. My life was no longer defined by the shadows of the past, but by the light of hope and resilience. As I closed this chapter of my life, I looked forward to the future with a sense of peace and a deeper appreciation for the journey I had endured. The legacy of the book was one of caution, but also of growth and recovery, reminding me of the strength that lay within, even in the darkest of times. If you want to see more horror stories, please like the video, share your thoughts, and subscribe to our channel. Stay with us, thank you, and see you in the next videos.